Hello, this is a video discussion of the evaluating results portion of the Beyond the Classroom study plan. Evaluating results is really just a fancy name for what to do with the test after you get it back. But that's a really important thing to think about given how often we're tested throughout all of our education, whether that's K through 12 or higher education. Without going too far, though, it is important to acknowledge that the actual value of tests and testing is still hotly debated amongst people in higher ed. There are just as many educators and administrators in higher education who support the practice of testing as there are those who seriously question its worth, having to do with things like the stress that it puts on students. Even though that debate is taking place, however, testing is, in the end, still the best way that instructors in higher education have to assess student learning in an efficient and useful way, which ultimately means that for us, even though we might not like being tested on a regular basis, it's still the best way we have of getting feedback on what we know, what we don't know, and what we still need to be working on in terms of information we can work with. As a result of that, then, let's turn our information to the various ways the testing can benefit us instead of getting stuck on how much or how little we actually like the process of it. One of the most important things that testing can do is improve our learning through improving our memory, and this is probably a no-brainer, right? Any of us who's ever had to study for a test is aware of the fact that really what we're doing is just practicing our memorization skills, or really our memory usage skills. And I make that distinction because of the fact that memory usage is something very different than memorization. Generally, memorization is viewed as something that is rote. In other words, we simply memorize things the way they're given to us without really changing them too much. Whereas actually being able to study effectively means taking the information that we're working on storing and remembering them in a way that helps it to be particularly useful to us. Now, continual testing can help us with our studying and our time management habits, but really almost anything that we have to schedule in would do that, right? Testing is particularly good at because it means, testing is particularly good at this because it means having to carefully structure our time usage in a way that allows us the chance to prepare for it. But again, any obligation that means that you've got to be prepared and in a particular place on a particular day, for example, would mean that time management benefits. It's just that testing helps time management and study at the same time. And of course, that's a real benefit to us. The information retrieval that we have to do as we remember things for a test and actually take the test can help our ability to retain that information in both the short and long term. It's all about exercising those portions of our brain that are designed to store the information and then allow us to access it again. In fact, test taking can help your brain be able to organize information and knowledge better, and that helps you to be able to retrieve the knowledge more efficiently. It's a little bit like wearing a path in dirt or grass, for example. The more times that you travel the path, the more established the path becomes, and the more easy it is to take the path wherever you need to take it. The other important portion of this part of the study plan has to do with learning from the test. And really the hypothetical situation that best helps us to address this is the one where you get an exam back and you blew it. The grade on that exam is much lower than you wanted it to be, and your overall performance on the test was something that you feel wasn't up to the usual standard. The important thing that you've got to be able to do here is acknowledge why you made the mistakes you made. Again, that seems like something that is pretty self-evident and straightforward, but no one likes doing this. This means having to come face-to-face with the mistakes you made. And the more important the test, the higher the number of points you could have gotten on it, the less we're going to want to go back and face the mistakes we made if we really did do poorly. And that's why we have to be able to accept this and then work on our ability to revisit those mistakes and figure out exactly why we made them. This isn't the kind of thing that comes to us overnight. I don't have to take many tests anymore because I'm basically through the education I've done already. But on the occasions that I do, or simply on the occasions where I screw up, it's still difficult for me to go back to those things and acknowledge the screw-ups and then figure out why they happened. So it doesn't matter who you are, how much education you've had, or how old you are. It's always difficult to deal with mistakes by coming face-to-face with them first, but you have to. There is a tremendously useful table in this portion of the study plan that I highly recommend anyone and everyone go to and look at. It's the sort of thing that's so long and so expansive that I'm not going to talk through all the points on it here. Suffice it to say, though, that of the entirety of this set of readings for this week, really this table is the one thing I most recommend keeping with you, even if it's copying and pasting it and simply putting it in a notebook somewhere. It's tremendously useful for helping with that moment when you get a test back and you have no choice but to learn from it. This concludes the study plan for the week. This concludes the video lecture of the evaluating results discussion. I thank you for your attention. I hope that your reading of the study plan this week goes well, and if anyone does have any questions on this that they would like to ask, please feel free to ask those of me either in virtual office hours or in email, and I'll make sure to address those as well as I can. Thanks.